I'm going to take you today through 10 things we've learned about mobile and shopping over the past few years. Before I do that, I just want to give you a little bit of background into John Lewis. I feel quite lucky to say that if you've spent any time in this country, you grew up here, you probably know some of these things already. But by way of context, John Lewis has been around for 153 years. So the shop that's on Oxford Street has been there all of that time. I think it was a little bit smaller back in the day, but nevertheless, we've been around for a long time. Today there's 48 shops, opening the 49th later this year in Oxford. And in those shops and through our website, we sell a selection of 350,000 products, so a whole range of things. There's 38,000 people who work for John Lewis, and most of them are based in those shops. And we refer to ourselves as partners, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. John Lewis is famous for its Christmas adverts. This year we had Buster the Boxer bouncing on a trampoline. I'm sure you all saw that. And we are owned by a parent company called the John Lewis Partnership, which is also has ownership of Waitrose supermarkets. Throughout those 153 years, it's only been the last 15 where John Lewis has had a significant online presence. And only 6 of those years, the last 6 years, have been about mobile, and that's what I want to focus on mainly today. However, those other numbers are important for the context because, as it will come up a few times, those things have really made a difference to what we've done with the new technology over those last few years. So, 10 things we've learned. The first thing, number one, is that modern shopping journeys are really complicated. Now, you're all at an event called, what's it called? Internet retailing. So I think you probably already know that 40%, you won't be surprised to hear that 40% of our sales are coming through our online channels. You probably won't be that surprised to know that half of those, 20% of the total, are coming through tablets and smartphones. So that's not really the point of the slide. It's not really the interesting bit. What I think is much more interesting is the stuff that happens before and after that purchase. There's this whole spaghetti of journeys. There's no real typical journey from start to finish. So sure, some people do arrive at the website, arrive at the app, make a purchase, and then we don't see them again. But actually what's much more typical is for them to crisscross across different channels and to really sort of mix it up as we go along. And in fact, 25%, a quarter of all of our sort of orders placed have involved an interaction with both the shop and online. This means it's really complicated for us when we're thinking about designing our website, designing our apps, designing our shops, because most of the time, the majority of customers will have interacted with us at different points before they've arrived at that channel and where they've gone afterwards. So modern journeys are really complicated. The second thing is we've really found that customers love to tell us how they shop. So it's really hard to envisage all of those different bits of spaghetti. It's kind of, in the olden days, I guess you'd go and do a floor walk and you'd say, oh, this is what my shop is like and this is what it's like to be a customer. That's really, really difficult now because there's so many different ways that customers are shopping with us. But you don't need to try and imagine all of those things because customers will be really happy to tell you all about them. We're really lucky at John Lewis because we have a really sort of fancy lab and we bring customers in 3 or 4 times a week to talk to us, and we watch them shopping on our website, on our apps. That's cool, that's really, really good, but actually it's not completely necessary. Because guerrilla testing is a great thing to Google, and there's lots of tools and techniques of how you can interact with your customers without necessarily having to spend lots of money on cameras in roofs and observation rooms. So customers really like to tell us how they're shopping, and it's something that we've found invaluable in learning how we can apply new technologies, and particularly mobile, to their journeys. So number 3, it's all about the smartphone. So I had a nice animation on this before my computer stopped working. The red line is the important one. That's the percentage of traffic to johnlewis.com from phones. And it's over a 3-year period, so back January 2014 to the beginning of this year. And you can see it's going up. It's a little bit jagged, and there's, it's obviously not a smooth line. You can see right in the middle and right at the end is Christmas. And every Christmas we see, or we have done for the past couple of years, smartphone overtakes its nearest rival. So last year, the Christmas advert was Man on the Moon. Not that that's relevant. And you can see that that's when we jumped right in the middle there, jumped past tablet traffic. And what happened last Christmas was smartphones actually then became the most popular way for people to shop with us online. So when we're thinking about designing our online presence, we really start with the smartphone now. We think about how's this going to work on a small screen, how's this going to work in the context of a customer being out and about, and then build it up to the web on the desktop and the web on the tablet. smartphones are really the main way for customers to shop with us online now. So number 4, however, smartphones are important, but it's important to remember that they're not exactly the same as tablets yet. I think if I showed my iPad and my iPhone to my gran, she'd say, well, look, that's just a small one of that, or that's just a big one of that. If I talked to the technical guys who are working on our apps back in the office, they'd say, well, it's the same code base, it's the same operating system, they're kind of the same thing. And of course, both of those people would be right. But they are a different size, and that does drive different behavior for customers. So one of them fits in your pocket, one of them fits in your handbag, one of them goes around with you everywhere. We've all probably got them with us now, and that's the phone. The other one, the tablet, it probably stays at home. It's probably on the arm of the chair or maybe coffee table. It might get a run out once a year into an aeroplane or a long car journey. And what that means for a retailer is that their behavior is quite different, and we see that evidenced quite a lot in lots of the things that we measure. So the graph here is showing that the usage of those two types of device, and with desktop thrown in for good measure, at different times of the day. So you can see there's a spike in the morning where the smartphone is the key, it is the main way that people like to shop with us. That's, I guess, when they're commuting, or maybe they're trying to wake themselves up, they're having their breakfast, whatever. During the day, the desktop takes over, and people who I suppose are supposed to be at work, they're shopping with John Lewis. That's fine by me. And then in the evening, it's all about the tablet. So that the stereotype there is sitting on the sofa with the other half who's watching something awful on the telly, and you have a look on your iPad. Time of day is one way we see the difference between those devices. The amount of time customers are spending with us on each of those changes. So the iPad journey is typically much longer. The customers are really sort of looking around and browsing, and they're looking for that sort of richer content, the more engaging catalog type stuff. Smartphones are sort of little and often. Conversion's also different, so the most highest converting channel for us is the iPad, and it's the iPad app. I'll talk about apps in a minute. Then it's the desktop, and then it's the smartphone. So those 3 things really drive different behaviors, and so when we're thinking about those devices, and not only do we have to consider actually customers are interacting with us, using multiple devices for a same journey, we have to think about the shape and size of the device and the things that can do when designing for them as well. But the final point on this, which is the yet in brackets. So we all know phones are getting a bit bigger, tablets are getting smaller, I don't know. And we're starting to see, as we saw on a couple of slides ago, that the use of tablets is declining, and it's kind of because people are using their phones more. And the behaviors that we previously thought were quite tablety, so all that, I'm sitting on the sofa, I want something to read, I'm a little bit bored, I want to be inspired. Customers are starting to demand that a little bit more on their phones now. So the shape of this graph will probably change over time, but remember that those devices are different and need to be catered for accordingly. So this is my favorite one. Product page is the new homepage. So, 10, 15 years ago when we first launched the website, we were thinking about, that big beige box that you had in your hallway or maybe your dining room, and on that awful piece of furniture with the keyboard thing. And you used to say, Mum, I'm going on the internet, and it would have a start and an end. You sit down, you'd log on, you'd dial up, and you'd type in johnlewis.com or whatever you wanted to shop with. And you'd arrive at the homepage, and you'd go through your journey, you'd check out, turn it off, and that was it. That sort of linear journey doesn't really happen as much as it used to. And in fact, 30% of all of our all the arrivals at our website are starting on a product page. So it really changes the role of the homepage, and the things that traditionally we think are important to put in front of our customers. We can't rely on the homepage to do that anymore. I'm not saying that you don't need a homepage, definitely not. And in all the testing we've done, and any time you watch a customer using our website, the home is a really important anchor for them to sort of get their bearings. What I'm saying, though, is that the things that we normally put on that page, so what is it that's different about our brand, what is it that's different about our proposition, needs to be taken out of the homepage and sort of peppered around the rest of your website, and the product page is a really good way to start that. So I've got 3 examples of retailers who I think are doing this quite well. So on the left is us, is John Lewis, Argos in the middle, and Apple on the right. They're all selling the same product. It's an iPad Air. But you can see how, perhaps you can't see on here, but what we've all tried to do is bring out what's different about shopping with us that can why should I buy this product from you? Most of these people will have arrived, directly from a search engine or from an email. So you can see on Argos, they're really prominent with their reviews. Apple are talking about their free delivery and free pickup, and unfortunately the animation probably isn't going to work. But on the John Lewis site, you can see we've really called out our never knowingly undersold, that price promise that we've had for all those years. So it's really important to bring out those messages at other parts of the journey, and a product page is a really important way to do that. So number 6, apps. Apps are different to your website, just like smartphones are different to tablets. If you think about it, customers, the way that we all use apps, on my home screen on my phone, I've got my messages and my phone and pictures and my bank, really important things to me. And I've got a couple of retailers on there as well. I see the logo for John Lewis, of course, but the logo for Amazon sort of 30 or 40 times a day. And that's because, I have the app and I've gone to the trouble of installing it. The opportunities that gives John Lewis and Amazon and all the other retailers is quite distinct from a website. And so the roadmap that we have, the investment profile, the things we're thinking about for apps are different to our website. The type of customers that we're targeting are different. We aren't ever expecting to have 100% of our customers shopping with us on the app. There's always going to be a place for the website, just like there's always going to be a place for the shops. And for us at John Lewis, and I would suggest for many other retailers as well, it's all about your most loyal customers, the kind of people who will shop with you once a week and who do this almost like a hobby, hobby shoppers. And so if you're looking at it, you'll see there's lots of features in there that we've built with that customer in mind. So there's this picture here showing a digital version of our loyalty card, so the customer doesn't have to carry around that piece of plastic. There's a feature which we call Kitchen Drawer, which is a digital version of receipts, so there's no need to put your paper receipts in your kitchen drawer. And there's other things there as well. There's a huge loyalty element for apps for us. But there's 2 other things that are important as well. The middle one is features that work in shops. So we see apps as a really important way to enhance the store experience. So there's things in there like the barcode scanner, and to some extent the kitchen drawer feature as well, which are designed to encourage customers to think about online and digital at the same time, which is another point I'll come back to. So both of those things are really important, but it's also really important to remember that apps need to have that sort of purchase journey. It's quite easy to make the mistake, and we've done it in the past. I've seen other retailers doing it, focusing too much on the 2 things on the left and forgetting that we're a shop and people want to buy things from us. Apps are our highest converting sales channel. People who've got the apps are far more likely to make a purchase when they launch it than they are on the website. And so it's really important to make that journey slick. And that's probably, the hygiene factors, the things you need to do first before going to the left and right. But it's the opportunity, and the most exciting things are all about loyalty and what you can do in your shops. So number 7 is about our shops. So don't forget your colleagues who are on the shop floor and interacting with customers face to face every day. What we found is all this new technology is only 6 years old at most, but most customers have it, and they're walking around our shops with just technically a supercomputer. And the guys who are working in the shops are using systems and processes, procedures that actually are much, much older than 6 years. And so you've got a customer with this amazing piece of technology, and potentially colleagues in shops who've got a pen and a piece of paper and maybe a terminal somewhere on a wall. And this creates this really unlevel playing field where customers have more knowledge potentially about your own business, but also about your competitors than your colleagues. So we've been really lucky at John Lewis to have sort of really senior support for some initiatives we're doing here. And if you go to the shop in Cambridge, the John Lewis in Cambridge, you'll see that all of the colleagues of the partners have an iPhone. They have an iPhone 6, and it doesn't belong to them. It's sort of all locked up. But they have that, and they're able to access the same kind of information that customers have, and it's just worked brilliantly. And we announced earlier on this year we're going to be rolling that out to all of our shops, so that every single person who arrives in a customer-facing role every day will have access to an iPhone. Actually, that's brilliant, and really proud and really excited about working on that. But there's loads of stuff that can happen before that. And loads of stuff that we've done that actually just sort of starts to level that playing field without necessarily investing millions in buying mobile technology. encouraging your colleagues to talk to customers about what's going on and talking to them about the fact that they're using the phone, training them to realize actually if a customer's using their phone, that doesn't necessarily mean leave me alone. Go over and say to them, oh, can I help you at all? Or maybe they're taking a picture or they're looking on a competitor website. Lots can be achieved by just opening that dialogue with colleagues and not necessarily having to empower them with all that technology. And something that I'm really in the early days of learning is if you are going to go ahead and buy all of that technology and empower your colleagues in that way, the solutions are not completely digital. We could probably have a whole event, a whole conference about how the other things that we need to do. I could probably speak for a whole morning about lanyards and belt clips and the ways that people like to carry these devices. There's a whole dimension to things that need to be considered in addition to that sort of software design that we've been good at and that we're basing all of this new stuff on. How am I doing for time? Cool. Number 8, understand and respect your foundations. So new technology like mobile phones, like tablets, like the internet has made new demands of those old systems. And it's made building the future really, really tricky. We found that some of the things that we want to do most of all are also the things that are the most difficult. And I think that's because the things that any brand is famous for are also the things that they've sort of built all of their systems and processes, their foundations on. And the best example I have for that is shop stock. So the ability for us to show the figures within our shops online. For 15 years, we haven't had that on our website, and today you go and look on johnlewis.com, it says 7 in stock or whatever. What that actually means is there's 7 in stock in a warehouse in Milton Keynes, and if you're willing to pay for delivery, we'll happily bring it to you. It doesn't tell you anything about what's in your local store. And as you can imagine, that drives customers mad, right? They want to know, can I get this today? Or I want to go and look at it before I buy it. As I've said, 25% of those journeys involve shopping online and in store. And it's really difficult because the systems that hold all of that information, of course we know what's in our shops, but they're in systems which are, in some instances 40 or 50 years old, probably exaggerating slightly. And it makes it really difficult to pull that out in via an API or in a platform independent way that we can then surface to customers. And I guess the lesson is that we have to understand why that is. Those systems have been there for a long time for very, very good reason. And it's important not to shy away from those challenges, listen to what your customers are saying, and sort of respect why things are like they are.
Can I make you aware, in the digital payments theatre, DinPay are speaking about accessing the Chinese domestic banking system. This is happening now in the digital pay theatre. Thank you.
I won't be offended if you want to go watch that. So yeah, understand what's gone before you, respect that, and don't shy away from those challenges, because what we found is the things that we really want to do are the things which are also the most difficult. Okay, nearly there, 2 more. So number 9, avoiding problems without solutions and saying no, thank you is really important for a product manager or somebody who's working in a sort of strategic, future-focused role that involves looking at new technology. There's loads of amazing ideas, weird and wonderful technology that people have dreamed up, really fantastic things that these devices can do. And lots of them are really applicable to retail, lots of them aren't, lots of them are applicable to our brand, lots of them aren't. And it's a real skill to work out actually which of those things are going to help us. It's important though to remember that actually some of those things are not just opportunities, some of them are going to be expected by your customers. So if you're going to have an app, you probably need to have a barcode scanner. But listen to your customers and look at what your competitors are doing to understand what is it that I actually really need to do, and make sure you're focusing your time on the areas of your apps and your website which customers are telling you that they need. We don't have a basket that works across all of our devices. If you add something to your basket on your phone, it doesn't necessarily appear on your desktop. We're working really hard to resolve that. That's kind of the number one thing, apart from the shop stock thing that customers are asking us. It's really easy to get sidetracked and start putting Bluetooth beacons in the heads of mannequins, but actually don't do that. Let's focus on the things that customers are asking us and really put them at the heart of what we're doing. Learn to say no, thank you. It's a really powerful word that can help you to focus everyone's efforts on what you need to do. And then the final one is the future. So it's really complicated. 15 years of complexity, and the mobile over the last 6 has made it more so. I don't think we're near the end of that yet. I have a crystal ball, so take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt. I'm making it up as I go along. But there will be new ways to shop online. You can take the name of any consumer electronic device, bung the word smart in front of it, Google it, and there'll be one. I've seen washing machines that can diagnose themselves and sort of communicate back to the manufacturer what needs to be fixed about them when they're broken. Toothbrushes that can analyze when their head needs replacing and then potentially order themselves. And of course, there's things like watches and TVs, which will provide new ways to shop. So there will be, I think, new ways that customers want to interact with retailers online. But I think what's probably more interesting in that is that some of those things, some of those products that retailers are selling will also start to contribute. So as I said, if the washing machine is able to open up that dialogue in the background with technical support, or a toothbrush is able to say, hey, I need some new heads, it really changes that dynamic once again. So as well as having customers with devices, your colleagues with devices, you've got your shops, potentially the products are taking part in that as well. But who knows, I've never seen one of those washing machines actually on sale. I don't know anyone who's got one of those toothbrushes. If I did, I probably wouldn't be friends with them. And my smart TV, it doesn't even connect to the Wi-Fi. So I think we're away yet. But there's these things out there, and I can see how they're going to, they could potentially change things even more. So that's it. Thank you. Here's a nice picture of me, and I'd love to hear from you if you've got any questions. I don't know if we've got time for some now, have we, Chloe? Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Tom. That was brilliant. And you've managed to leave us about five minutes for questions.
Oh, good.
Which is superb. And whilst you're all just having a quick think about questions, I would say that solutions without problems, man, is that something we're all guilty of. Bright, shiny objects. Okay, well, who wants to ask a question? If you can put your hand up and we'll get a microphone to you. Seriously? No questions? Okay, well, I have a question in that case then. You said, I think it was on about point number 2, that mobile is what you're now designing for, because that's where the traffic is. But then you said the conversions are the worst on mobile. So can you talk a bit about why you've gone after the traffic, not necessarily the sales?
Yeah, it's that thing on the first slide with the spaghetti. So we acknowledge that although the conversion might not be there, the sale might not be sort of closed on that device. We know that it's influencing heavily purchases in other channels, so it's really difficult, notoriously difficult to measure that end to end. What is the value of a visit to a website? Because if it's not going to place the order there, how do you know where it's actually happened? But we know anecdotally, and we're starting to see that information happening. So yeah, although conversion is lower on those devices than it is on some of the others, it's still important to remember people are using them, and it's influencing sales in other channels. So that's why.
Okay, has anyone come up with a question whilst we're doing that one? No?
Oh, good.
Okay, well, we're letting Tom off very, very easily today, so we'll wrap up there. Please do stick around in this area for designing and shaping engaging tech experiences for colleagues and customers with Fabrice from Sainsbury's coming up very soon. But you've now got just over 5 minutes if you do want to move rooms. And thank you very much to Tom.